What is going on, guys? Carter here with Edge Mindset. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me and talk about these goofy little knives. I really appreciate everything you guys have to say. Couldn't do this without you, wouldn't want to anyways. Trying to make that my catchphrase. Let me know what you think. We're taking a look at these two Strider-esque, ooh, I got a hair stuck there. Two Strider-esque knives. On the left, we have a production version of a Dwyer BBNM. This is made overseas in China by North Mountain Blade. On the right, we have a Mick Strider, M Strider SnG pattern knife made here in the United States in a very, very close rendition of the original Strider knives that existed before Strider Inc. went away. I'm bringing that up because there was a lot of controversy on this video on me kind of clickbaiting, right? Clickbaiting to say this is a Strider. I still kind of stand behind me making that point, not because I'm saying it with my whole chest, but because I feel like there's a little bit of unfairness between Duane's knives and Mick's knives in terms of public perception of which one is more Strider than the other. I don't personally agree with that, and usually when I don't agree with something, I tend to cross over on the counter side a little more than I truly believe because I'm trying to make the point, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I could do a whole video talking about the controversy behind my unboxing of this knife, and I lost a bunch of subs doing this. I lost a bunch of subs because of my quote-unquote clickbait title, which I'm saying quotes because I don't fully believe it. I don't think it was off color at all. But I also think I lost some subs just kind of featuring this knife. It's pretty controversial. Anyways, we're not going to go into that right now. The point of this video is to do a comparison. I had multiple people ask to do a comparison between these two knives. And I think it makes sense to compare these two as opposed to kind of like a pre-25 Strider. So for those that aren't familiar, pre-25, that refers to the 25th anniversary of Strider Knives Inc., and that is when the company dissolved. So if you hear anybody say pre or post 25, that's what they're referring to. Now, some people consider pre-25 knives as old school knives. Those are usually the younger people. The older people, those are not old school knives. Old school knives are like pre-lock bar stabilizer and all that stuff. But pre-25 means before these two people that owned and started Strider split into their own companies. So technically, neither of these is a Strider knife, right? This is an M Strider and this is a Dwyer. Anyways, let's get back. I'm doing it again. So let's just do a quick comparison. Can't be too critical on this because they are different blade shapes. This is more of a Bowie style blade. I've got to make sure and say style because if I call it a Bowie blade, people freak out because they're like, that's not a Bowie. It's too small. It's not a fixed blade. Bowie style clip point blade right here. And this is the spear point blade that is very common on newer production M Strider knives right now. Same opening hole, same basic blade shape and edge and all those things. Got the handle, same style pivot, different screws. The handle shape is the most differentiating factor on these two. You can see that Dwyer kind of cut out this guy right here and curved the spine of the blade. It does make it more comfortable. Now, the SnG is quite comfortable, but if you really squeeze it, you do feel this corner, right? It does fit in your hand surprisingly well. Like you can see how it kind of just hits right here. It feels pretty good. But yeah, if you give it a good squeeze, you feel this corner. I mean, you would. Whereas the Dwyer here, there is no corner. So this is more comfortable. Although I wouldn't consider either one of these uncomfortable. This one is more comfortable. Let's take a look at the stop pins right there. This is closer to the original stop pins than the newer M Strider ones, which are kind of the shorter nubs, but they're quite similar. Quite similar. We got milling going on here. Now, this has a lock bar insert. It's running on washers. This is running on washers, both PB washers. This has a lock bar insert because it is made overseas, and that's just kind of common what they do there. This is titanium on steel. It does have carbonization. You will sometimes get lock stick on these, just depending, especially if you get some oil or something on there, you'll get some lock stick. It just kind of is what it is. Pocket clips are the same. Mounting is the same. How you've got the single screw with the tab, which I really like that design. Very, very cool. Both of these have a lanyard hole. One thing I find kind of funny is on SNGs and SMFs, it's long been pointed out how that blade tip kind of cuts into this hole here, so you really can't run paracord all the way through. You can wrap it around just one side, and that works pretty well. And a lot of people speculate on whether this is supposed to be a lanyard hole or if it's a machining hole that they just never got rid of. But on this Dwyer here, it completely, even more so, cuts right through. You can see, like, you couldn't put paracord through there in any sense of the word. It will not go through that hole. Kind of funny. And you don't have a lot of clearance here either. So I wouldn't recommend doing paracord on this guy. The Dwyer here has 2 scales with standoffs, whereas the traditional kind of Strider design is a single piece G10 on the front, all milled out of a solid piece, no backspacer. It does have, I forget what they're called, but like male and female, like this is a single piece that goes through, and then this screws into that piece right there. And then in the newer versions, they do have more of a traditional standoff with 2 screws on each side. This is a slightly older one where they have just the 2-piece going on right there. I'm not going to do weight just because it's not fair. This has a brass front scale, so it weighs a lot, and it's just not really a good comparison. Both of these have a lock bar stabilizer invented by Hinderer. Rick Hinderer came up with that lock bar stabilizer. They both use that. They both have jimping on the spine here. The Dwyer does not have any jimping on the spine of the blade, however, whereas the Strider does. Let's do overall length. So there is something worth noting here, and that is that the Dwyer's handle is longer, quite a bit longer. And some people pointed that out when I posted the original pictures. Blades are about the same. I think they're, maybe a millimeter off from each other. But the handles, you can see how much longer the Dwyer is, and it does kind of create that short blade, long handle style, similar to like Demco's and things like that. Some people like it. In fact, I think, now that I think about it, Borka Blades, Sebastian Berengi of Borka Blades, the custom maker, I think he actually has a stitch version that's basically a shortened blade with a longer handle. So it is a style of knife that some people like. They like to have kind of the more agile, nimble, shorter blade with a full-sized handle. But I would say the vast majority of people are going for that blade to handle ratio, and you're not going to get that in this particular knife. Now, an interesting thing though is when you close the knife, it actually almost looks the opposite. So it kind of looks like you could shove more blade into this handle than you actually are, because you have quite a bit of gap there. Whereas this one, when it's in the closed position, it looks more like it should have a better ratio. So it must, I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from. Because if you look at the position of the pivot, it doesn't look like the Dwyer pivot is all that much lower. In fact, it looks the same. So I'm not sure how that's happening. Maybe it has to do with the length of the tang. I mean, this tang does seem a little bit longer, like this sits down a little lower. Maybe that's kind of what's doing it. I don't know. Interesting. Crazy how, like, I don't know if you call that engineering, but, the way the mechanics work, how the blade folds and fits. In the open position, the handle is substantially longer. So I didn't really look at it before, but I expected there to be quite a bit of space here on the blade, and there's actually not. You really couldn't get any more blade in here. And yet this one, there is actual space, and yet this is the one that has the better handle to blade ratio. So kind of interesting. Obviously, overall shape is very, very similar, with the biggest difference being this kind of curved down back end right there. So very cool. All right, guys, comment down below. What do you think of Duane outsourcing to China this model? What do you think that does to the knife community? Do you think it's a big black eye, or do you think it's a smart move? I think I'm going to get a 50-50 mix, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. All right, I'm out. You take care.